I'm being divisive right now because I want to win. I know how to win. That's what I have to do. Ultimately, if I do win, I'm going to be a great unifier, George. I will be a great unifier for the country. The country right now is terribly divided by a president that doesn't know how to lead, and he's a very divisive person. I will be a great unifier. You will be surprised to see that, but you will see that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Malzberg panel time. And joining us right now is David Swerdlick, assistant editor of PostEverything at the Washington Post, and C. Edmund Wright, columnist with Breitbart.com and the American Thinker. Hello, gentlemen. All right, let me start with you, Edmund. Bill Kristol just said that he believes that what Donald Trump being divisive on issues is one thing, but being personally divisive obviously is another. And the fact that Trump brought up Ben Carson's religion, he called it creepy.
I might agree a little bit there. I found Donald Trump's comments about being a great unifier a little bit interesting. And, when you look at Trump's supporters, the vast majority of them have really bad memory of Mitt Romney and John McCain trying to reach across the aisle. Somehow they don't seem to look at comments like that from Donald Trump in the same vein. I guess it's due to personality. I don't know how someone wins on a conservative message, and Trump's is somewhat conservative, and then unifies the country afterwards. The countries are basically half liberal, half conservative, and a lot of times, Steve, those two ends just can't meet.
Right, David. What's going on here on the Republican side, I believe, is that we've never seen such a radical leftist Congress or president. And when Republicans ran and won in a landslide, they picked up House seats and Senate seats just about a year ago, they promised all kinds of things. They're going to thwart Obama on this and put this bill on his desk and that bill on his desk, and they've done nothing. So I think what they're looking for is someone who's not going to compromise, but someone who's going to stick it to the radical leftist Democrats and bring back the nation that we love.
Well, I reject two of your premises, Steve. First of all, I don't consider President Obama a radical leftist, and I also don't consider Donald Trump a conservative. His positions on issues are incredibly heterodox for what the Tea Party and what mainstream Republicans have been pushing for the last several years. I do think he's divisive. I'm not saying that he won't go far in this primary season. He could do well in Iowa. He could do well in New Hampshire. He could do well in South Carolina. But I really think that ultimately some of Trump's inconsistencies on issues and some of his rhetoric are going to catch up with him. I didn't hear creepy, but I did hear him take a shot at Carson's Seventh-day Adventist faith, and I'm not sure what he's trying to accomplish.
No, Bill Kristol called that creepy.
I see.
Yeah. But let me ask you, David, and then we'll get to you again, Edmund, of course. Who's more divisive than Hillary Clinton? I mean, who calls Republicans enemies, pharmaceutical companies enemies, whatever else she said, the NRA, enemies. I mean, that's pretty divisive, and I don't think you could get more divisive than that.
Clinton is certainly, Steve, a polarizing figure. She's been around since in national politics since the 90s.
She's been around 68 years, but who's counting?
Look, she's been on the national stage for a long time. She's divisive. I personally wouldn't, had I been in her camp, I wouldn't have advised her to take that shot at Republicans during the last debate. That being said, look, she's taken a lot of arrows and shots from Republicans over the decades. So, she tried to, with a smile on her face, throw one back at them. Was that valuable? Or was that helpful? Was it red meat to her own base? Yeah, probably. But, I do think that she's gotten as good as she's given.
Edmund?
This situation.
Yeah, well, I would, a couple of things David said I wanted to jump on. Number one, I guess we would have to disagree about Obama being a radical. And I think Obama's far more radical than Hillary, although Bernie Sanders is more radical than all of them. And it's this big race to the left. But that does bring up, Steve, your point that Trump is popular right now and has this tremendous support based on anger at the Republican establishment. And the point David brings up is the one that we'll have to see how it plays over time, although it's played pretty well, longer than I thought. And that is how will the Republican base that likes Trump square a lot of the opinions, including this one, to be this great reach across the aisle unifier, with what they thought they were getting with Trump, which was to come in and totally, roll back what Obama's doing. because when you look at what Trump wants to do, he really doesn't want to do that.
Right, and of course we have 3 polls now in Iowa that show Ben Carson leading Donald Trump. One is 32-18, the other is 28-19 and 28-20. Of course, you could write that off if you want on the heavy evangelical vote in Iowa, but we shall see. All right, we're coming back with part 2 of the panel. But folks, remember to join me Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern for exclusive Newsmax TV debate coverage immediately following the CNBC Republican debate. I'll be joined by our expert team of analysts, including Dick Morris, Mike Reagan, and John Zogby, and many others. That's 10 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax Television Wednesday night.
I think the reason that the organizers used the phrase Black Lives Matters was not because they said they were suggesting nobody else's lives matter. Rather, what they were suggesting was there is a specific problem that is happening in the African American community that's not happening in other communities. And that is a legitimate issue that we've got to address. We as a society, particularly given our history, have to take this seriously.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back to the Malzberg panel. That's Barack Obama defending Black Lives Matter, a group which routinely, during their marches, call for the death of police officers. They did it here in New York City one day after a black police officer was gunned down by a black thug here in New York City. Doesn't matter to them, apparently, what color the pig in a blanket is. Just fry them like bacon. David Swerdlick and C. Edmund Wright rejoin us. And here's the problem, well, many problems. The President of the United States, we know what he does. He sends officials to the funerals of thugs like Michael Brown. But in addition, now the head of the FBI says that Black Lives Matter and the media coverage of all this stuff is making cops think twice about taking action. And who could blame him? If a cop has a kid in college, he's near retirement, whatever, if he knows the right thing to do is to go confront this guy and he might get into a confrontation. He says, I'm not going to get into a confrontation. What? And someone's going to videotape it, and then they're going to do this and do that. Even if I'm right, I'm wrong. David, Black Lives Matter, besides it being racist and calling for the death of cops, is just messing everything up.
Look, I think that the debate over the slogan Black Lives Matter, and I've said this before in your ear, Steve, is a silly debate. The slogan, whether people agree with the movement or the motivations or the platform of the movement, the slogan itself does not mean Black Lives Matter only or Black Lives Matter more. The slogan means Black Lives Matter also. People who still are trying to debate that that's what the gist of the slogan is are willfully trying to misunderstand.
All right, so
That's
Black Lives Matter means Black Lives Matter also, and pigs in a blanket fry them like bacon means what?
I have criticized the folks who made those statements in that St. Paul march.
There's other marches, and many other marches,
I'm certainly critical of the people who chanted it in New York. But there have been hundreds of Black Lives Matter marches, and I'm not aware of more than a handful of these incidents where people have, called for violence against cops.
Right.
I criticize them. They've been criticized, and I don't think that's representative of the platform of the movement overall.
The problem, Edmund, is that the leaders of Black Lives Matter don't condemn it.
Well,
I don't think that's
not
true.
Just the leaders of Black Lives Matter. How about all the Democrat presidential candidates refusing to say anything but Black Lives Matter when asked the question?
That was pathetic.
What should they have said, Edmund? What should they have said?
Well, the question was, wait. The question was, do Black Lives Matter or do all lives matter?
Right,
and these idiots said Black Lives Matter, except for one.
That's right. And David, they should have said exactly what you said, but they didn't. And the other thing that proves this movement is just politically motivated is that, there's more black lives taken every weekend in Chicago by other blacks than by cops in a 3-year period, and there's no talk about that.
There's actually a lot of talk about what, quote unquote, black on black crime by the movement and outside of the movement. Look.
Well, wait a minute. Yeah. David, I just saw CNN with Millie Abdullah, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, when she was presented by the other guests with the facts about how the murder rate of blacks how many they commit, the rate that they commit murders, FBI statistics. I don't agree with your statistics. Well, you know what? If you're in denial, then you're in denial, and you shouldn't be taken seriously.
Yeah, no, there is a crime problem in many African American communities. There is a crime problem in many white communities. Most crimes against African Americans are committed by other African Americans. Most crimes against whites are committed by other whites. There is a problem with, for lack of a better term, black on black crime. That being said, this movement has sprung up in relation to police brutality. That's what they're focused on. If people think they should expand their focus, I have no problem with that argument, but that's what this movement is about.
Edmund, this woman still calls Michael Brown's death a murder, says that he was murdered. This is insanity to to have a movement on these phony, false premises.
Well, it is. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, Steve, there's nothing that we hear from the people at Black Lives Matter or the Democrat candidates or Democrats in Congress that is remotely as reasonable as what David said. David's only problem is he's representing that as what the Democrats and the left in general are saying.
All right, guys, got to go.
Not.
Guys, good discussion. Got to go. See Edmund Wright, David Swerdlick. Thank you both. Ed Klein is next. Don't go away. In the shocking new book, Unlikable, The Problem with Hillary, author Ed Klein offers a stunning, powerful expose of Hillary Clinton and her floundering race for the White House. Klein also reveals the angry rivalry between Hillary and Barack Obama. Unlikable retails for $29.95, but now you can get it with our free offer. Get this almost $30 value absolutely free. Just go online to newsmax.com/Klein or call toll-free 800-850-8749.